Welcome to Pioneers in Payments, where payments experts share their insights. Now, here's our host, Donna Blum.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Pioneers in Payments. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Nathan Carman from Wespay. Welcome, Nathan.
Hello, Donna. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining us here today. So, to get us started, would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself, the background you have in payments, and also the role that you have at Wespay?
Yeah, I'm Nathan Carman. At Wespay, I'm the VP of Risk and Regulatory Compliance. I kind of duplicate my work because Wespay has the nonprofit subsidiary or the nonprofit Wespay that does the Payments Association, and then we have a for-profit side, which is Wespay Advisors, where we do risk management services such as audits, risk assessments, and consulting to help institutions do things like launch payment services. So that's my current role. I got to this spot in a roundabout way. I think, like a lot of people I know that joined the payments industry, started as a teller while I was in college, had no intention of staying in the banking industry or financial industry. I worked as a teller and I did everything you can do in a branch, from teller to branch manager, before finding my passion in operations. I managed a payments operations department, handling the processing of checks, ACH, wires, cards, everything you can imagine under the sun that has payments to it. And then while I was there, I was introduced to Wespay from the Regional Payments Association side of things, and used their educational offerings to help me gain accreditations for the AAP, APRP, and then NCP. After that, when I moved to Westpay, I got my AFPP as well. So I've got all these certifications from the different payments rails, but I really, really have my passion in instant payments. So that when that new certification came out, that's where I got excited and went right after it.
Wonderful. And in the description of the video, we might actually share what each of those acronyms stand for, just for those who may not know. But we'll be sure to include that in Nathan's profile if you want to learn a little bit more about that or those organizations. Well, that's fantastic, Nathan. It sounds like you have a wealth of experience, and kind of the idea behind this podcast is to interview basically people who are professionals and experts in the payments field. And so you're the right kind of person for this podcast. Uh, my very first question for you, though, because we're kind of talking here about all that's happening in the payments industry, and there's a lot. But what would you say is the most notable trend today?
At Westpay, we kind of our view is slanted a little bit because our membership is primarily financial institutions. So we really see what the financial institutions are seeing, what they're doing. So for me, the trend that I tend to see in financial institutions is a really move toward instant payments and trying to adopt those. It was really slow at first, and with just the RTP network, and then as FedNow launched their FedNow service, I think the uptick in the acceleration of adoption of instant payments has really started. We really saw a lot of our members start to adopt those and implement those this year, and then definitely going to keep that accelerating. So I really think that the trend is toward adoption and just a really moving forward with faster payments, whether it's RTP or FedNow, and then integrating those payment rails into services. So they're very, very ambiguous. They just kind of flow out through the experience. There's not a whole lot of roadblocks and account validation, things like that are happening in different payment processes. I think with the instant payments, it's going to be a lot more streamlined, and people are going to really enjoy that payment experience a lot more than they do today.
Wonderful. Now, Nathan, you and I both serve on the same work group with the Faster Payments Council. It's about operational considerations for instant and immediate payments, which is a mouthful. But we obviously, instant payments is near and dear to our heart. And primarily, our audience for this podcast is going to be individuals who work for payments organizations, and they're involved with either the business side or the technical side of operations, right? So, with that in mind, Would you mind sharing with our audience what you perceive to be the greatest opportunity for organizations processing payments?
The greatest opportunity is to really like I was saying earlier, streamlining that experience that member or that their customers are going to have in payments. I think from when you look at the past of payments, you start with checks, and it was a very clunky process. You got to pull out a checkbook, write a check. Then you have cards where you have to pull out your card, swipe through a machine. The kind of the continuous growth of that is moving into where we have now with our phones, where everything we can just scan our phone and it's something we already have in our hand. We don't have to go searching for a payment device. And I think that was really kind of the key change, is to be able to do that. And I think that having the faster payments options where they're just moving money instantaneously is really going to have consumers really buy into that experience of just being seamlessly integrated into their shopping experience, wherever the experience is going to be. So I really think that the opportunity for institutions to offer that service, you kind of think back to different things that changed payments. One of the things that always stuck out in my mind was when Chase launched their first mobile deposit. Everyone thought that was crazy, and who would ever do that? I think that now, if you don't have that mobile deposit, it's like you're not even in banking anymore. So I think that instant payments are kind of going to move that way. Like I said, I think really accelerating in the coming years is the adoption of instant payments and just integrating that into your experience, whether you're shopping online, shopping at a store with the request for payment option. I think once that ubiquity gets there, where most financial institutions have that connectivity and have that experience, you'll see a lot of the payments companies and the payments providers start to innovate and find new ways to use instant payment rails to move payments in a very seamless way. So I think for any institution that hasn't got there yet, I think there's a real push to get there, because it's just becoming to be table stakes, where if you don't have it, you're going to be looked at as like, well, I can't use this financial institution anymore because they don't have instant payments, so I'm going to move over to here. So I think that's why you see it starting to accelerate in the coming years.
I agree. And I've said this probably on a future podcast, but I think we will have reached true ubiquity when we no longer put faster or instant in front of the word payments, right? Payments will all be fast. They will all be instant because the other option is no longer desirable, right? Everybody wants to hold on to their money as long as they can, and they want to receive their money as quickly as they can. So, um, definitely the trajectory that the industry is heading, right?
And I think one of the other parts of instant payment that's fundamentally different than others is you have the responsiveness. If I send you a payment, I know you got it. There's no, I sent it into the ether and hope you got it, and I have to call you and say, hey, Donna, did you get my payment? I get a confirmation right away with instant payments that it went through and it's been accepted. So I think that that's the real game changer, is that conversational messaging that you can use with instant payments versus what it used to be. I live in San Jose in the Silicon Valley, and we used to have members come into the credit union I worked at, and they would send wires. And they're like, well, why can't I get a confirmation? Why don't I know that it got there? They're looking at technology in the world that we live in and saying, why am I just sending these things into the ethos and hoping it got there, when I should be able to know right away? And I think that's where instant payments have taken it, and it's going to be a much better experience for the users to have that finality and that understanding that things actually went through successfully.
Right. And as we talk about instant payments, often we talk about the benefits of irrevocability and the fact that, it's instant settlement. I also think ISO 20022 is a game changer, helping with, reconciliation, all kinds of other things. That rich messaging is really a real benefit as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, when I very first was introduced to instant payments and what they offered and the concept of like a request for payment, I was working at the credit union. We were having a hard time collecting loan payments, and people were becoming delinquent. And I thought to myself, I was like, hey, what if we could send them a notice on their phone that says, hey, your loan is due. It's past due by 2 days. You're about to get a late fee. Do you want to pay it now? And they could hit the button and instantly make that payment. That hasn't become a reality yet, but I think that's coming. So I'm really excited to see that kind of evolution of the instant payment messaging capabilities.
Wonderful. Okay, so my next question for you is, with everything happening in the industry, what is the greatest challenge for organizations that process payments?
I think the biggest challenge, I think, again, going into the instant payments world the financial institutions, is there's a lot of legacy technology that's built with schedules and it's not operational 24/7. So combating or kind of getting over the hump of dealing with these legacy systems is going to be hard for institutions. I think a lot of them are going that route. The nice thing is there's a lot of technology providers that have solutions that kind of work around that legacy technology. So you don't have to change your core in order to deal with instant payments because of the connectivity that you have through, third party service providers. So I think that's one challenge, that there are some solutions too, but a lot of institutions still have the legacy systems that they don't want to move away from, and that it's really hard to do that. So that and kind of the fear from smaller institutions of the nature of a 24/7 operating environment, they look at it and they're super worried about staffing and how they're going to handle dealing with the 24/7 rail. And from a lot of our financial institutions, and the nice thing is that we've seen a lot of our institutions go down the road of implementing these. And when you ask them, like, how did this impact your staffing and your processing and working in a 24/7 environment? And they said, well, it's pretty much an automated process. We really don't have to sit there and monitor it at all. I would say it's almost equivalent to the card networks, where you're just out there using your card and you don't have someone sitting there waiting 24/7 to process cards for you. That's being done in the background in batches. But with instant payments, it's all automated. So you don't have to have someone sitting there waiting for exceptions. There really aren't an exception in an instant payment. Either goes through or rejects it. So, but I think that fear is that object that people are trying to get over, and I think we're getting toward that hump where that's no longer an issue, just because of all the education that's out there, and Wespay and other RPAs working with financial institutions have really gotten them comfortable with the fact that they can implement these without having that burden of actually having to staff up.
Right. Yeah, automation is definitely key. And, in this digital world, 24/7 world we live in, automation is absolutely required.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, I think whether you are already, sending and receiving instant payments or not, I mean, it's something that you need automation, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, my favorite question is really challenging you to take your sum total of knowledge and experience in the industry and offer our audience one silver bullet piece of advice.
I don't think that there's a silver bullet that can just magically fix everything. But I think if you're looking for something that's critical, a silver bullet that to solving to being able to handle today's payment environment is really having a plan. If you have a plan for what you want to do with your payments environment and you have a roadmap for implementing that, that's really going to be your silver bullet to success. Because if you don't have that plan there, then you're just throwing things at the wall and hoping they stick. Um, Instant payments are a journey. Most of our institutions, they start with receive only. So that's kind of their beginning of their process. And then they move into the send at a later point. And then most of them have on the roadmap or have gotten to the ones that have implemented instant payments anyway, have gotten to the request for payment. But again, it's not, the ubiquity is not there for them to be having the volume of that occurring. So I think the silver bullet to being able to be successful with instant payments specifically is having that plan and having good partners. Wespay provides great resources for our members to go out and learn about instant payments. We also have our advisory services that we offer through Wespay Advisors, where we can come out and help you develop that strategic plan, meet with your executive teams, find where the gaps are in your payment solutions, and then where the instant payments can fill in those gaps, and then help you to do everything from developing that strategic plan and then implementing the different payment rails, and then working with other service providers who will also help you get through that. So as I mentioned, there's the legacy technology is going to be an issue. So finding the right partners is going to be key to your success as well. So I think the silver bullet, I would say, is having a plan and finding the right partners to achieve your goals with that, with instant payments, and that'll help you be successful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There is absolutely no reason to fly solo, try to make all these, figure it all out on your own. There's a lot of resources, a lot of knowledge available, and a lot of partners who have already done the work, right? Like, there's no need to reinvent the wheel when the wheel's already out there and available.
And you mentioned earlier the Faster Payments Council. There's great resources that our work group has been working on to help institutions and even other non-financial institutions that are looking to get into the space of instant payments with their operational readiness. So there's a lot of resources out there. It's just finding those and then finding the right partners. I think there's a lot of help that's waiting for you.
That's great. I'm glad you brought it up again. I think perhaps also in the description of this video, we can provide links to some of the deliverables that the work group you and I serve on have made available that deal with, send and receive. And I think we started on the receive side and then recently moved to send, but there's some great resources there. So we'll include some links to that. I know Nathan and I both have been contributors to those deliverables. But before I let you go, Nathan, I would love for you to share with our audience how they might get in touch with you, how they could learn more about Wespay. What kinds of services do you offer that our audience might be interested in? What would you like to share?
Yeah, so to contact me directly, you can just email me. It's my first initial N, Carman at wespay.org. And then the best place to go find out more about Wespay in general, the different education offerings and how you can become a member of Wespay if you're a payments company that is looking for help, is just www.wespay.org. And then if you're interested in more consultative services, or if you're looking for instant payment risk assessments or instant payments audits, which is something that we do a lot of these times, you can go to our Wespay Advisors website, and that's just wespayadvisors.com. And there's on both sites there's ability to message us, and it goes to our marketing teams, and then they can direct it to the right person to help you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Well, Nathan, I just want to thank you for your time today, and I appreciate you sharing your wisdom with me and with our audience. And I do want to thank everybody for watching today. Bye now.